In this session, we are going to be looking at how to create a Facebook ad. Now, as always, when you want to start creating anything on Facebook, assuming that this is your personal Facebook account, come to the bottom here and click on this link which says create advert. We're going to go through the steps very quickly, setting up the campaign, the advert account and the ad sets, because we've already done that in the previous lesson. I'm going to set this up very quickly and then we will spend time in today's session in creating the advert. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when you start off with your campaign and with advertising on Facebook, always start with this marketing objective first, which is basically getting traffic from Facebook to your site. And once you master this campaign objective, your ultimate objective, your ultimate goal should be to move to conversions. This is the most cost-effective way of Facebook advertising. It's slightly more technically complex. So we're going to start with traffic first. Ignore all the others. So let's click traffic. Come down. I'm going to name this campaign. So let's call it, in fact, why don't we call it traffic test? We set up our advert account. This is always a one-time activity. So let's just go ahead and do that. And that's done. Now we are in this set here, which is called the ad set. This is a very critical space, something that you must master before you go down to create your ad. And we're going to give it a name. So let's call it traffic test ad set. You need to be more creative than the name that I've given, because you need to be able to go back and refer to it often, and just by looking at the name, you need to know what kind of audience or placement or budget you have set for this ad set. In terms of traffic, always keep it to website. And in terms of audience, I'm not going to spend too much time here because we've already covered that in a previous lesson. So I'm going to zip through here because I want to spend more time in the ad section. Just going to, select India as a country, but you should do far more detailed selection, select cities, select states, or maybe even select a small geographical area in your city. Facebook allows you to do all of that. I'm going to keep gender all, and let's narrow it down considerably. So let's assume that I'm creating an audience of people who are 30 to 40 years of age in India. That's about 43 million people. It's way, way too large. So we'll look at those who, in terms of demographics and in terms of education and education level, let's say have a PhD. This is just another example. This is too low, 9,500 PhDs registered on Facebook. This doesn't mean that there are 9,500 PhDs in India. It just means that those are the number of PhDs registered on Facebook. So that's too low. We need an audience for about 100,000 people. So I'll go back and delete the doctorate degree. And let's change that. Let's look at education once again. Let's look at field of study. And in terms of field of study, let's look at engineering, or yeah, this is fine. Not very good in terms of an audience once again. Let's look at doctors. Which means actually we should be looking at medicine. So look at medicine. So about 4 million people. So 4 million people are interested in medicine. This doesn't mean that they're doctors, but they're interested in medicine. So that could be one vector. And another one that you could add in here is, let's see, exclude people who are interested in alternate medicine. Okay, let's see what that does to the numbers. It does nothing to the numbers. So we're going to remove it and we're going to go back here. And if you're looking at people who are interested in medicine, one way of narrowing the audience is that they must also, let's look at demographics, education level, have a master's degree. Yep, so it starts narrowing down now. We are looking at people, for example, who are interested in medicine but who have a master's degree and above, and your audience size is now 370,000 people. So I would recommend, when you start creating your ad sets, depending on your business, spend a lot of time here in refining your targeting, looking at the kind of people you want to include, who must also match a certain criteria, and you can also exclude people from this. Once you do that, come down to placements. Always ensure that you edit the placement yourself. Do not go in for automatic placements, because if you do that, a lot of your ads will come in the audience network, which you don't want. So just going to go and knock off all of these, and in Facebook I'm going to knock off everything else. I just want my ads to appear in the Facebook feed of the audience. Then we come and set our budget. So let's assume the budget is fine. You can always go and change your budget. Never accept the default budget that Facebook gives you. For example's sake, let's assume that I decide to lower the budget to 200. Now you can decide whether you want to run your ad continuously or set a start and end date. And when you just start out with your advertising, please click this radio button, that is set a start and end date, so that you don't forget that you're running an ad. If you do forget it, you'll be slammed with a pretty hefty bill from Facebook. So let's go back and set an end date for 15th August. You can change the time if you want. So my ads will run for 7 days and I will be billed no more than 1400 rupees. So there's a safety there in terms of the max budget. Then click show advanced option. This is important. You always optimize for link clicks. You do not optimize your ads for impression or unique reach. What you're saying is show the ad to people who are most likely to click the links. That's good. In terms of bid amount, I've mentioned this earlier. I've spoken in depth about this topic. Do not keep it to automatic, but stay to manual. They will give you a crazy number here, which is always on the higher side. Always start with 50% of the lowest bid amount. So I would start at about 4 rupees or 5 rupees, and the default currently is 5, which is fine. If my ad does not show, and if there's no reach for the ad at a bid of 5 rupees a click, maybe in a day's time I would increase it to 6 rupees and then 7 rupees until I start seeing people are seeing my ad and are clicking it. So this is a bit of a manual process, but you save truckloads of money in the long run. What are you charged for? So once you spend more than 400 rupees, you can come and open this option, and then please click this radio button, which is link click. Now I can't select it right now because I must spend at least 400 rupees. So this is something that you must do. Ignore all of this and you're good to go to the next stage, which is really what we want to spend time on today, and that is creating our ad. Now, as I'd mentioned earlier, Facebook advertising starts with a campaign at the topmost level, followed by an ad set. So under one campaign, you can have multiple ad sets. You can have 2 ad sets, 3 ad sets, 4 ad sets. And under each ad set, you can have multiple ads. The aim of this tree-like structure is to give you enough flexibility to test out ads of one particular ad set type, or keeping the ad the same, you can test different, traffic areas where you're getting your traffic from. You can test out different kinds of audiences. You can test out different placements of the same ad. So you always compare just one thing. And typically when you're starting out your campaigns, the number one thing that you would compare or test is the image of the ad, not the ad sets. That happens maybe a week or 2 down the line. So we're going to be discussing that today. And now when we come to the ad area, which is this last part here that you can see, and yeah, so it's the last part here. I'm going to now start by creating a name for it. So let's call it, let's go with what we've been doing so far. Traffic ad test. Oops, sorry. Okay. Your ads have to be linked to a Facebook page. That's very important. So ensure that before you start off, you have a page on Facebook, not your personal account. You cannot link ads to a personal account. So in this case, in this dummy account, I have one page called the test account. So I'm going to link it there. And Let's scroll down. Now, when it comes to format, you got various kinds of formats that you can use. I would recommend that the only format you should choose is single image. Now, why am I saying that? There's a philosophy behind Facebook advertising. Your target audience, when they're on Facebook, are scanning through the Facebook newsfeed and are looking for stories or looking at stories from their friends, colleagues, etc. And 9 times out of 10, those posts have a single image with some text under it. And the aim of your advertising should be as unintrusive as possible so that it almost looks like a post from a friend. Okay, you don't want to shout out branded communication or make a sales pitch, because that's not the environment for that in a person's newsfeed. So the closest that you can come to it is using a single image. A single video also works very well. The only caveat here is that your video should be of high quality and you need to have a script for it. You need some level of production. So when you're starting out your advertising, stick to single image. Ignore slideshow or collection or carousel. Just stick with a single image format. So you've done that. Scroll down. Now you need to choose the images that you're going to have. Always when you start your Facebook advertising for the first time and you have a Facebook campaign, start with having 3 options in terms of your images. Keep everything else the same. The text, the headline, the call to action, everything should be the same between 3 ads, and the only variation should be the image. Have a hypothesis about the kind of image you want to test, and let's go and start looking at images. Now, there are normally 3 ways in which you can pick up an image. One is upload an image from your computer. Then second is to browse the library of images that you have uploaded in the past. And the third is to go for free stock images. Facebook has a link or an alignment with Shutterstock, so you can pick up images from here for free. Let's do that. And you need to put in a keyword here. So let's assume the keyword that I'm putting in here is handbags. Let's assume that we are creating an ad and we are targeting people who like handbags, because ultimately we want to sell them a handbag. Now remember, as I've mentioned in the lesson on marketing funnels, you cannot sell a handbag to a person on Facebook by creating an ad for a handbag. It's a multi-step process where you start by creating an ad which gives a person free information on how to look after their expensive handbags. Once they come to your website and they sign up for that free information, you get their email address, and then you start nurturing that lead over a week or 10 days by providing them with even more valuable information, establishing your rapport, and then you take them to your e-commerce site. So right now the aim of our ad is basically to create an attractive ad which will entice people to come to your site for that free information. So let's look at the images here. So an ad like this, an image like this is not appropriate, even though it's quite classy, it's quite chic, you have very beautiful handbags there, but it shouts out, that you're trying to sell something. What we are looking for is an image of somebody who's just sitting there, almost looks like they could be your friend. This is interesting, but it's still not what I'm looking for. Let's see this. This is an interesting image because it's colorful and there is something that the model is doing. This image will shout out or will attract the consumer because she's got her eyes covered. So I'm going to click this image as one option. And when you click it, this little blue button, with this tick mark appears to show that you've selected it. Let's continue down. Let's look at this image. I'm not selecting this image, although this is close to the kind of image I want, because she's got her eyes covered. When you select an image, try to look for a model or a close-up of a face of somebody whose eyes are visible, because human beings are attracted to eyes, and it would be great if the person is looking straight at the camera. So I'm going to scroll down. Too trendy. I'm not getting what I'm looking for, so I continue searching. Let's see this. This is interesting, so I'm going to click this. She's looking into the camera, and while she's looking quite chic and classy, at the same time she could be, you know, your friend. It doesn't have that manufacturer branded feel to it. You need to blend into your audience's news feed. So I'm looking for images which could blend into it. And if you think that these images are Caucasian and you would want Indian images, you can always do that. So let me, for example, change handbags to Indian women. Let's see what comes up. So this is a slice of life kind of imagery, and if these images make sense to you, you could easily select that image. This, for example, is a very simple image of two girls, enjoying each other's company, having a beverage, and this could be something that you may like to use. Always try to avoid imagery which is very stock image variety. So for example, what do I mean by stock image variety? This is not stock image variety, whereas this could be viewed as stock image variety. So you want something which is which speaks to a person, which looks very natural in their news feed. Okay, this is a natural image, and this could be viewed as a stock image because you have a white background. It's very unnatural. Let's look at some more examples. This is very clearly stock image, so you should avoid images like this. They look pretty, but they look very fake, when it comes to trying to create a personalized image or a personalized ad. This is a good image actually, because this is quite natural. She's smiling, she's looking into the camera, and the background is blurred so it doesn't obstruct vision. At the same time, it's a pleasant image to have. And always remember that when people are scrolling down, they tend to stop and look. I mean, this is real, this is reality. They tend to stop and look at newsfeed posts which have women in it smiling into the camera. So I would select this also, and I've got my 3 images. All right. In one, I've got somebody who's looking into the camera and smiling. In another one, in sharp contrast, there's something happening here, but I don't know what it is, and she's covered her eyes. And in here, there's an image of a person who could be a friend, slightly glamorous, slightly chic. She's not smiling. So having looked at 3 different philosophies of images, I would select these, click done. So I've got the images here now, which Facebook has placed. And I scroll down. Let me add my URL. You add in your website. So let's assume that this is my website, and ignore Messenger. Now your ad starts getting created in this preview area. It's really, really important that when you're creating your ad, and if your audience is in India, which it would be for most of us, that you preview your ad in the mobile newsfeed preview. So what I mean by this is that Facebook gives you 3 preview options: mobile, feature phone, and desktop. If you start viewing your ad in the desktop environment, you won't view it as your audience would see the ad. And there's a huge difference between the way the ad looks in a desktop environment and the way it looks in a mobile newsfeed environment. So always ensure that when you're seeing how you're creating your ad, you always have the mobile newsfeed set, and this is what it would look like. Now, after filling in your website, what this means is that if anybody clicks here, if anybody clicks this button or on this image, they will be taken to your website, whatever website you have placed here. The headline that you will put here will come in the place of Google. So I'm going to change it to something like okay, this is just an example. It's not a great headline because there's no such thing as a handbag maintenance guide. But you get the idea that whatever you write here is going to be, visible under the image. It's always a good idea, irrespective of the headline, to start with the word free. Free is a great attention grabber when it comes to ads, and people love to get something for free. So I typically make it a point to add the word free in brackets, in the square brackets before my ads, so that people, when they're scrolling down and they see that they can get something for free, they immediately stop and then read the rest of the text. So that's the headline. The text you enter here will appear here. Now, beginners make a mistake of adding in very little text. In fact, you have to do the exact opposite, the reverse. You should add a lot of text and have a very long ad which shows a lot of depth in the content. It only 2 or 3 lines will be visible, followed by a ... see more, and they have to click it for the ad to open down. But I always write about anywhere between 200 to 500 words when it comes to this text area. So do that. Now, some things which work well: always start with a question. And why? Because when people see a question in text, when they see a question in an ad, their mind automatically moves to answering that question, and you sort of disrupt their stream of thought. So never start with a statement or an exclamation mark. Always start with a question. So for example, if you're giving a handbag maintenance guide, you could start with, do you find it hard to maintain your expensive handbags? Question. And let's see what it looks like here. Do you find it hard to maintain your expensive handbags? Question mark. Okay, then leave one line, leave another line, and then you can start by saying, so did I, until I discovered, the 10 secrets of good handbag maintenance that you can get for free. So you would start writing and then have a lot of text talking about how handbags are expensive and you like handbags and you were having a lot of difficulty in maintaining them, and then you came up with these secrets and you're willing to give it to the viewer for free. All they have to do is click this button here, and you have various choices here. So you could go to no button, shop now, apply now. Online marketers have researched and tested all of these buttons, and generally speaking, learn more works the best. And the one which doesn't work at all is sign up, because it requires a commitment from the viewer, and at this stage people are not interested in signing up or making a commitment. So don't use sign up, stick to learn more, unless you're making a specific ad for an appointment. So then you could use request time or apply now or book now. But for most of us, learn more is a very safe proposition. You can easily exclude newsfeed link description, that this is viewed only if the person is watching it through a desktop, which we are not, so ignore this. The display link is this link at the bottom, google.com. So if you don't write anything here, it will grab this display URL and put it here. But you can also always change it. So I could change it to, for example, let's assume my site is called Smart Handbags. So I could say this is let's see if this works. smarthandbags.com. For your ad to be approved, the important thing, this is really important, is that smarthandbags.com, if somebody clicks smarthandbags.com, it must go to the same URL as the website URL here. So you can't mislead your customer by having a name here which is different from the actual place they'll go to if they click the learn more button. The two of them have to be the same. And that is basically it. Your ad is ready. And you just go ahead, click confirm. It'll ask you for your credit card one time when you set up the account for the first time. You click it, you make your payment, and your ad is good to go. It goes into a pending for approval stage, and it first goes into an automatic approval. And then it can be approved between 5 minutes, or sometimes it can take a couple of hours for approval. But once it's approved, it goes into the queue. And then based on your bidding cost, how much you have bid, it will start being exposed to your target audience. People will see the ad, some of them will click it, and they will come to your site to grab that free resource guide. Now, once your ad is created, you can clone it and you can duplicate the ad. It's very easy to clone and duplicate ads. And I will show that. I'll show you how to do that in a subsequent class, because the aim is once you create this ad, and the ad is already set to show 3 images because we have already set that up. What if you want to create another ad set which has a different traffic or audience parameter? By that I mean, instead of showing the ad in India, let's assume you have a global business and you want to show the same ads to an audience in Sri Lanka, for example. Now you don't have to go and create everything afresh. From the panel you can just say duplicate ad set. It duplicates it. You go ahead and change the country. And so under one campaign, you would have one ad set for India showing the 3 ads we just created, and another ad set for Sri Lanka showing the same 3 ad sets. So same 3 ads. So you could then test out, whether Sri Lanka works well for you in advertising or does India work well, and under each of them, which of the ads seems to work the best. I would always recommend start by first having one vertical stream, one campaign, one ad set, and one advert. And within one advert, this is one ad or an advert, within them just compare the 3 images that we have just set up. Running it up for about a week or 10 days will clearly show you in terms of the data which of these images is performing the best. Facebook will automatically start pushing your ad spend to the top performing image. So out of the 3, if one starts performing well, or actually even before that, Facebook will divide your budget into 3 in the first few days and spend money on all the 3 ads. It will look at how many people are clicking the learn more button on each of the ads and determine which of the ads is performing better, and then automatically will start pushing in money, your budget, to that high performing ad. So within about a week's time, you'll clearly know which of your ads is a winner. And once you find it out, you can shut off the other 2 ads. There are radio buttons by which you can shut it off. You can then determine that this, for example, this is your top performing ad. Here were the other 2 examples. Now let me come back here and just give me a minute. So this was the second ad. All that's happened here is that the image has changed, and what you're trying to see is which of the 3 images is most likely to work for your ad. So when you set up this campaign, what will happen is that you have decided to spend a certain sum of money. Facebook will show these 3 ads that we have just set up, this one, and this one, to the same audience, and will determine which of these images performs the best. Once you determine that, you can then start testing other elements of the ad set to find the right audience, the right budget, and the right ad to ensure that you get the best results in terms of clicks and links to your website, so that you can achieve your off Facebook objective.